Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
It's all blocked. We'll never make it in time. You should have left an hour earlier. Blah, blah, blah. I do not say blah, blah, blah.
Hello and welcome to this week's Monday Movie Show. We're live on the 15th of February 2016 and interesting intro again.
Yeah.
2 weeks in a row.
What?
Yeah, Hotel Transylvania, my guess is you're tying it into Hotel Transylvania 2, which we're reviewing a little bit later on, aren't you?
Yeah, try and fit in something that will connect with what's on this week's show.
I would have thought you would have maybe went like superheroes, zombies, something like that, more connecting to the cinema section rather than the blah 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 kind of stuff.
Yeah, but I thought it'd be funny as well.
Yeah, because what you've just probably played in that clip there is better than what is actually in the entirety of Hotel Transylvania 2.
Yeah, we'll see when we get to that though.
Yeah, but on top of that, in the cinema section, I think it could have been easily the busiest week we've ever had in the cinema section, because even though we're looking at 8 films, it could have been 10, maybe even 11.
Because we got, because of course we have the biggest week, the biggest film of the week would be Deadpool. We also have a startling collection of things, because we have Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, which is a title I never thought I would hear or say. We have Zoolander 2, which is another title I thought I'd never say. We have Alvin and the Chipmunks, The Road Chip, which is a title you wish probably I never had to say. We have Concussion, which is the Will Smith movie, which is causing a bit of an uproar with the Oscars. We have Gem and the Holograms, a smaller drama with a bigger splash, and ending out the cinema section with the Green Inferno.
Which is a nice cannibal movie. And then the home release section, it's a good job we've only got a couple of films, they are.
Yeah. As we mentioned, Hotel Transylvania 2. We have the program, the drama around the whole thing of Lance Armstrong, and we have Guillermo del Toro's latest horror fairy tale adaptation, Crimson Peak.
Yeah, and on top of that we have the TV movie of the week along with the Blu-ray DVD top 10, the UK box office top 10, but because it is a busy show, let's straight head on into the movie news.
Yep, let's say about first of all the fact of that Star Wars Episode 8 has officially begun filming. A video has been released showing the final moments of Episode 7, with the cast and crew then announcing cut and shouting "Welcome to Episode 8." The movie has added to the cast, as you have the characters returning from the last film. You also now have in Episode 8 will be appearing Benicio del Toro and Laura Dern, who've been added to the cast, and the movie actually officially started filming at Pinewood Studios today.
And that's news because...
Well, just it's a big thing. Everyone's going on about Star Wars, and it's people will. We have that kind of things. Did we not have a thing where about 8 weeks in a row we had a thing and everyone's going, do you have a piece of Star Wars news this week? Or
yeah, that would be Booger. It's been a little while since he's actually been in the live chat, but every single week he would go, have you got Star Wars news? Have you got Star Wars news?
Yeah.
And this week we have Star Wars news.
Yeah, exactly. The other piece of news is regarding Deadpool, which we are reviewing this show, but it has opened in the United States with a record-breaking 135 million opening weekend, which is the highest February opening in the United States. It's currently on its way to a 260 million worldwide opening for just this opening week, and this is surprisingly despite the movie not opening and being banned in China, where it would make probably quite a lot of money, except for the fact that they considered it rather too violent and graphic.
Yeah, and I've also just read that there will not be a director's cut, despite a new piece of news coming out about 2 weeks ago saying there's going to be a director's cut version of the film, where it is going to be a little bit longer with some of the swear words and stuff like that added back into it. Yeah, it's now officially been announced today that there will not be a director's cut of the film.
It's probably because it won't be a director's cut, but it will be an extended cut, because the director's cut is the version that's been released, and I think the director is quite happy with it.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get on to
there'll be an extended or a harder or an unrated or a extreme violent cut or something, or the Deadpool cut or something.
Yeah, like I said, we'll get on to Deadpool a little bit later on after the UK box office top 10. News I've got is the BAFTAs were held last night. Despite the fact that you might have seen it all over Twitter, Stephen Fry getting pretty much destroyed with some of the things that he said during the BAFTAs, including a supposed derogatory term towards a bag lady, that we called a bag lady anyway. However, that person turned out to be a best friend of him, and Twitter just lost their minds. So it's the typical thing that Twitter normally does, blows things completely out of proportion.
Yeah.
And that's probably going to kill me now. But yeah, on top of that, there were awards.
At Cryptic Tadpole, just saying.
There were awards. Obviously, it's an award ceremony, and best film. Do you know much about what won at the BAFTAs?
I don't know. I actually haven't had a chance to even look at them today because I've just been doing stuff and then been out seeing things for today's show. So
some of these will actually be a surprise to you.
Yeah, well, they'll be new. Whether or not they'll be a surprise, I mean, we'll see.
Well, jumping straight into the big one, best film, that went to The Revenant. So it beat out Big Short, Bridge of Spies, Carol, and Spotlight.
Not entirely surprised.
Which Room should have been on that list.
Yeah, should have been.
But yeah, The Revenant. If Room was on that list, I think Room would have won it. But The Revenant, it was obvious it was going to do that. Director, Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu for The Revenant.
Okay.
Which was obvious, beat out Adam McKay for The Big Short, Bridge of Spies.
I'm waiting for Best Actor.
Todd Haynes, Carol, and Ridley Scott for The Martian. Leading actor, the winner was Leonardo DiCaprio for The Revenant.
Okay, good.
So yeah, I think probably the best one out of that one. Leading actress.
Let me guess, Kate Blanchett for Chloe. Carol. Yeah.
Nope, it went to Brie Larson for Room.
Okay.
So that was definitely well deserved. Beat out Alicia Vikander. At least the BAFTAs got that correct. Unlike the Oscars, putting her in supporting actress. Kate Blanchett, Maggie Smith, Saoirse Ronan. Supporting actor went to Mark Rylance, Bridge of Spies. Yeah, excellent choice. It's the shame. It was either him or from Whiplash. Well, actually, in supporting actor was Mark Ruffalo, Idris Elba, Christian Bale, Benicio del Toro, because Whiplash was nominated last year. It was it last year, yeah. It's the thing of it, because Whiplash was delayed being released in the UK, but they still, I'm guessing the BAFTAs still counted it, even though it hadn't come out at that time. Yeah, they were already since screened. As supporting actress, the winner was Kate Winslet for Steve Jobs. What were the other options? Alicia Vikander, Ex Machina, Jennifer Jason Leigh for The Hateful Eight, Julia Walters for Brooklyn, and Rooney Mara for Carol. Right, so pretty much any of the others would have been a better choice, I think. Okay. Outstanding British film went to Brooklyn. Beat out 45 Years, Amy the Danish Girl, Ex Machina, and The Lobster. Why the hell The Lobster was nominated in there, I don't know. Lobster's not even a British film, I think, is it? Yeah, it was a British film, even though it was directed by, I think he's Dutch, Yorgos Lanthimos. I'm not sure about that being the best British film. Yeah, the winner of Outstanding Debut by British Writer, Director or Producer went to Naji Abu Noah for Thebe. Okay. Yeah, no exactly. Idea. No idea. I was happy that Wild Tales won film not in the English language, because it's a good film, that. So I'm happy with that one. Documentary, Amy won that one. Did Inside Out win Best Animation? Yes. Good. Screenplay went to Spotlight. Adapted screenplay went to The Big Short. Nice two winners there in those cases. Music went to The Hateful Eight. Morricone. Really? Yeah. Okay. Star Wars, Sicario, The Revenant, and Bridge of Spies. I still don't get how Sicario is in there. Nothing against him, but nothing against the score. But it's for me, it wasn't in the same league as the others. Cinematography one, which you have been interested in, The Revenant, Emmanuel Lubezki. Yeah, that was kind of a given. You see that on a big screen, it really does blow you away visually. I think the only other one actually, the Mad Max was a good choice, but Sicario was the other one that had a better chance. Mad Max had a better score than Sicario did. Yeah, production design, Mad Max won that one. Fury Road, so good. Editing, Mad Max won that one as well. Costume design, Mad Max. Good. So it got a recognition at least in some categories. And hair, Mad Max. Sound was The Revenant. Beat out Mad Max, The Martian, Spies, and Star Wars.
I don't know that The Revenant was the best one for sound there.
Visual effects went to Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
Okay.
No, it shouldn't have won that. Mad Max should have.
Well, I don't know, because Mad Max didn't have as many visual effects.
And the E Rising Star went to John Boyega. Which is obvious. He beat out Belle Powell, Brie Larson, Dakota Johnson, and Taron Egerton. So that's the winners of...
Well, maybe Taron Egerton should have.
Or Brie Larson even.
I mean, Taron Egerton, we've seen in a few things now, Kingsman and in Legend, and in the upcoming Eddie the Eagle movie in beginning of April.
Yeah, and in Kingsman 2, and in a new Robin Hood film.
Another one.
He's very, very busy.
Another Robin Hood film.
Yes, another Robin Hood film.
It's been remade more times than anything else now.
Other news I have is Universal have announced that a Battlestar Galactica movie is finally back on after the studio went silent on the project.
I'm not going to hold my breath.
Yeah, I'm sort of... The series ended off fine for me. I don't think we need another continuation or another reboot.
It won't be the same thing. It'll be a new thing.
I know that, but I was a huge fan. A huge fan.
I said actually sitting where I am right now, looking directly at the Blu-ray box set of the series.
Yeah, I've got the big box set as well. Sony Studios are teaming up with Sega to bring Sonic to the big screen in 2018.
Yeah, I do not understand how this is going to be. They haven't said really if it's going to be a live action or an animated thing, have they? Is it animated? Okay, I was going to think, how could they do it in live action?
I don't know, but it's rumoured that Bryan Cranston is supposed to be doing the voice of a character in it.
Or maybe doing robotics. He couldn't do Sonic. I don't think he could do Sonic. It'd be too ridiculous. Can you imagine Bryan Cranston voicing Sonic?
Oh dear. Interesting. Universal announced that Johnny Depp will play the Invisible Man in a film of the same name. This is after Tom Cruise was announced to be starring in a revival of The Mummy. Yeah,
and this is all going to be part of their shared universe thing. Whether or not Dracula Untold is going to tie in with this, we still don't know.
It's not. They announced that before Dracula Untold came out, that it had nothing to do with their revival of the Universal monsters.
Yeah, so it's not. I'm betting that that's potentially going to be a lie.
The sequel might be, if there's a sequel ever released of it. The Tracking Board are reporting that Jigsaw will be back for an 8th Saw film titled Saw Legacy. Piranha 3D writers will helm the script, and it's rumoured that both James Wan and Lee Winnell will return to direct.
I thought we were going to say it was going to be called Sawless or something like that, and have them turn over to like a nail gun or something instead.
But it's nice to actually see that if it's true that Lee Winnell and James Wan will be back to direct, because they might take it back to its original sort of like tense film, because the films got more ridiculous the more they went on with the kills and stuff like that, whereas the first one, it wasn't much about the kills.
I'm gonna guess now, and you'll probably hate this idea, I'm gonna guess probably it's now going to become a supernatural thing, which is going to be awful.
Well, considering that it might be called Saw Legacy, I think it's just I don't think it'll go supernatural.
Saw leg. That's what happens. You saw a leg and that's it. It falls over.
And Salt, the film Salt, starring Angelina Jolie, is getting a TV series.
With this, see, I wouldn't mind if they did a sequel. And if it's the thing is, because the film Salt, I have the Blu-ray. The Blu-ray actually has 3 versions on it.
Yeah, I've got that.
Yeah, and the thing is that all of the 2 versions that were included on there were better than the theatrical version, and made more sense, frankly, than the theatrical version, and set up great for a good potential series, not TV series, but a film series. A sequel or 2. To be kind of almost a female version of Bourne. And they've done nothing with it, because I don't think it did poorly at the box office. It didn't do brilliantly, but I don't think it lost money.
I don't think Angelina Jolie though would want to come back, but that hasn't stopped them from making like sequels to other films in the past anyway. They're getting other actresses to change roles. You look at Bourne, for example. They did a 4th one, not with Matt Damon in it.
No. Although now he's coming back for the footage has now been released. The trailer, or the Super Bowl trailer, was released of Jason Bourne now, as they're calling it. It seems to be the thing is to do now, have a few films and then just call it the main character. Rambo did it.
Or it could have been like a direct-to-DVD sequel, like they did with Jarhead 2, and then there's a Jarhead 3 out in a couple of weeks' time.
That's just awful.
So they could just do that, but TV series probably is the best route if they couldn't get Angelina Jolie back.
As long as it's better than the Mortal Instruments TV series, because that's pretty dire.
They actually released the TV series of it, did they?
Oh yeah, it's had several episodes now. You can get it on, I think it's Amazon. One of the ones has got it. They get it after it's shown in America.
I didn't realise that they actually finally released that.
Yeah, I liked the Mortal Instruments film, and
I didn't.
The TV series. You I don't know. You might like the TV series, but I hate the TV series.
I hated the film. It's actually on during the week anyway, because when I was looking over the list of films,
it just feels so cheap.
Harold Zwart was the guy who directed it, wasn't it? Because he's got a very strange last name. UK box office top 10, then number 10 is Daddy's Home.
Not much more to say. I mean, it seems to be hanging around quite well. It's getting a lot of people going to it because I think it's because it's a 12 film, and you get an audience going along, and people are seeing the posters for it still, and it's Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell, and it's perfectly fine. There's nothing. I don't think there's a problem with it. Some people have come out being a bit sort of sniffy about it, but I thought it was perfectly fine.
Number 9 is new entry for Point Break.
Yeah, it's going in at number 9 because it's that terrible. It's really it's the remake that nobody wanted, and even people who haven't seen the original don't want it. It's a mess. It doesn't have any character sort of depth to it, and it doesn't even have exciting action sequences apart from one that involving the wingsuits, which is impressive, and it's actually all shot and it's nicely done. Give me that sequence, that 5-10 minute sequence, and I'll happily sit there and go, that's really good, that's great. Just don't put all the rest of it around it, because then it's terrible.
And number 8 is Ride Along 2,
which is just it's a play it safe sequel, because the first one was 15, this one is a 12. It is literally a case of, let's cash in on the first one, let's do the same thing again, only we'll move it to Miami, and we'll just have loads of sort of jokes that are like the first one, but because we're playing it safe, we'll dumb them down a little bit, and we won't have them be as outrageous or risky or or as bad as some of them were in the first one. It's honestly just, you sit there and you wonder if you've got a pulse.
Yeah, it's sort of like what they did with the Taken series, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
They dumbed it down.
Well,
only
Taken
get more people to go and see it.
Well, no, the thing is with Taken, they made them and they filmed them all right, and then they edited them and cut out stuff to get a 12. This hasn't been edited. This has just been filmed as a 12, which is maybe even more
we
duplicitous.
Don't actually know that though.
But no, you can tell.
There might be a 15-rated version of it with a few extra dodgy jokes. You
can tell it's been planned, it's been edited, because it didn't have any of the whole. Whenever there are films that are chopped down like this, there are always signs of it. It's jumpy, it's cuts, you can tell, and it breaks, and the music stops and everything, and it cuts, and I can always tell when it happens. And that's the thing, I couldn't tell that with this. There was just, it's almost like a Disney version of the first one.
But I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be a 15-minute version of it. And number 7 is The Big Short,
which is a really good drama set around the whole thing of the financial collapse of 2007, with a great set of performances. Steve Carell is top notch amongst them all, and it's really a film. If you haven't seen it, you might think, it's about the stock market and all that's going to collapse and everything, and it's boring. It's not boring. It is very cleverly put together, very nicely handled, some nice editing switches in there and here, and also the thing though is that it's one of these films that doesn't dumb it down too much. It actually dumbs down a little bit, but it doesn't make it to a point that you're sitting there going, I have no idea what's going on. You're sitting there and you're going, I get it, okay. And that's talking about financial things.
And number 6 is Star Wars The Force Awakens,
which we've said all we can really say about it.
Yeah. Number 5 is Spotlight,
which is a good it's almost like one of these kind of courtroom proceeding films, and I don't mean a courtroom drama like A Few Good Men or anything. It's not you did this. It's a thing of it's all about sort of the investigation of almost a courtroom drama. So if you saw all the things leading up to the courtroom drama, this is basically what it is. It's about the investigation of this newspaper group and this team that are looking into this thing and genuinely find some just shocking discoveries along the way as they go, and it's really surprising and amazing that one, it didn't get found found out sooner, as it kind of almost did, and two, that it was almost sort of covered up to the degree it was.
At number 4 is Dirty Grandpa.
Just an absolute waste of material and an embarrassment for not only obviously Zac Efron, but really embarrassing for Robert De Niro to kind of be at this point in his career where he's literally doing sex joke comedies for money. It's that bad.
Yeah, it's an abhorrent film.
It is. It's honestly, Robert De Niro must have a crack addiction or something like that he needs to pay the bill for.
Ooh, 12-year territory there. And number 3 is The Revenant.
Which is really talking about there, won the awards in some of the top categories at the BAFTAs, and deservedly so, because it has got a great sort of central performance in it from Leonardo DiCaprio. It has got some stunning vistas in the way it's filmed and the cinematography. It looks amazing. It does have some missteps in the writing, I think, and some moments where it's kind of stretching out things. There's some sort of issues with almost kind of continuity of character, not of a shot or something, or this happens, it doesn't make sense, but of continuity of the character as they go through certain stages, and I felt that was a bit of an issue with it. But everything else in it is really impressive, and see it on the biggest screen you can.
And number 2 is A New Entry for Dad's Army.
Lackluster and disappointing. It's fun and it's okay, but it's not as funny as it thinks it is, and as it wants to be. A lot of the jokes fall flat. It just kind of gets a little giggle from a lot of things when it should have been getting good belly laughs. And it's not, I don't think, a fault of the actors. It's not, I don't think, a fault of the director. I think it's a fault of the writing. And in that way, it's actually a problem, because I think that they filmed this and they went, basically, we've got a script, we're going to stick to the script, we do this. And I think they should have actually been probably doing a lot more improv things. I think a lot of stuff would have come out then, and that would have been a lot more funnier, and I think they would have potentially had a really good film on their hands. As it is, it's not a bad film, it's just very lackluster and disappointing.
It's a boring film, unfortunately. I think the audience that I went to see it with enjoyed it miles more than I did. Predominantly a lot of the audience was of the age to know the TV series when it originally came out, but there was still a couple of couples in there which were below the age of 25, and I was thinking, I wonder why they're coming to see it. Do they know what Dad's Army actually is? I wouldn't be surprised if they did know what it is, considering they might have had parents who showed them reruns of the TV series or whatever. But it's nothing. It's nothing harmless. It's very much like, in the guise of things like the early Carry On movies, in a way, the way it actually plays out. Unfortunately, one of the writers of the Carry On films passed away a couple of days ago, but at the age of 92 as well. Good age. Yeah, it's got that kind of 1960s holiday on the buses, kind of summer holiday, like I said, Carry On movie kind of feel. It would not have felt out of place if it was released back in the 60s. It's just the script is just such a lazy script that all the jokes that the actors are trying their best to get across fall majorly flat.
I mean, saying that though, I'm glad it went in number 2 and Point Break went in number 9 and not the other way around.
I doubt it would have actually been the other way around, to be honest. And at number 1 is Goosebumps,
which is a fun kind of, it is this decade's Jumanji basically. It's got lots of laughs in it, but they're nothing especially amazing, brilliant laugh out again, but better than the kind of content you get in Dad's Army. And it's more of a family sort of thing. It has got that thing where there's a family film, but you've got moments that the adults can be watching it and enjoying it, and there's got some good animation sequences, a couple of rough animation sequences, but some good ones, like the gnome animations are brilliant. They are really quite impressive, and the humour that comes with that as well it makes it for a sort of an all-round just a fun, enjoyable film.
Yeah, it never does that annoying thing like some kids films do. We'll get onto one of them a little bit later on, where it goes to the parents, you know what, not a wink, that joke was for you. Sort of like give them a wink and go, yeah, this is a PG film, it's aimed at kids. we're going to secretly throw in a couple of jokes in there which adults will get. They don't actually do that in Goosebumps. They pretty much play it like a PG film. And there are a few little scary moments in the movie which a few part of the younger audience will get scared. They'll see a werewolf and they'll definitely get scared of that, and especially the clown. So there are moments which does that, but it's very Halloween-esque. This movie would have been perfect if we got it exactly the same time as America, because they got it released around about Halloween time. We had to wait for it to come out in February, which was a silly thing to do, and I think it would have made much more money. Even though it's gone into number one, I think it would have made much more money if it was released around Halloween, because it's got that Halloween kind of feel to it. But yeah, it's an entertaining, fun family film. Unlike the first review of the week.
Yeah, Deadpool. It's directed by Tim Miller. It is the adaptation of the Marvel character that, because it comes under the X-Men and the Mutants character sort of group, is under license by 20th Century Fox. So they have gone ahead with this now after 10 years of Ryan Reynolds trying to get this made. He is playing the main character of Wade Wilson, or Deadpool, who at the start of the film, I say it's a film that is told out of order, so it's not in chronological order with flashbacks. Basically, though, he's a character who is in a relationship with his girlfriend, played by I forget her name, Morena Baccarin. And things seem to be going okay until it turns out that he has been diagnosed with terminal cancer. He's a mercenary and is approached by this group who says, we can kind of make you into a superhero, give you super healing abilities, which he reluctantly agrees to do so, but ultimately ends up getting, as a side effect of this, completely sort of bodily disfigured. It leaves him with the ability to completely heal, but obviously then, as well as that, is the issue that he's looking out for revenge on the people that did this to him, and potentially if they can try and cure him. Amongst the way, sort of, as he's doing this, he ends up teaming with a couple of X-Men characters, and sets out to try and sort of defeat them. In particular, the main character of Ajax, of their villain played by Edgar Screen. Here's a clip.
Go get some.
You gonna do a superhero landing? Wait for it. Woo! Superhero landing. Yeah, that's really hard on your knees. Totally impractical. They all do it. You're a lovely lady, but I'm saving myself for Francis. That's why I brought him.
I'd prefer not to hit a woman, so please play.
I mean, that's why I brought her? Oh, no, finish your tweet. That's fine. Just give us a second. There you go. Hashtag it. Go get her, Tiger. Oh, I so pity the dude who pressures her into prom sex.
So, as you heard from that clip there, the joke at the end was a bit risque. Nothing, I don't think, sort of that breaks kind of the rules of a, sort of a family kind of joke sort of thing. But that is,
said the word sex
yeah,
there,
exactly.
So
The subject of that kind of thing comes up. But the film itself is a lot more graphic on those terms, and I mean the violence, the severing of body parts, the graphic nature of sexual content in the film, not only in shown but also discussed and mentioned, and as I said, the violence, and the humour and the violence mostly.
I think you might have forgot something in that list there.
Yeah.
The violence.
Yeah. And the weird thing
and the
is,
humour.
yeah, and the humour.
I'm just swearing.
Because the thing is, it's a film that is filled with this character who is oddly, he's a little bit insane, because he basically does this whole thing of
in a devil.
Yeah, but it's basically that he basically is a character that breaks the fourth wall all the time. And if you don't know what the fourth wall is, basically, if you're watching something on stage, you've got three walls there, and the fourth wall is invisible that is supposedly between you and the actors. Well, in this case, the fourth wall is the character talking directly to the camera, and doing it quite a lot, and referencing that, and making references and jokes to other things, such as the whole thing of the X-Men and why there are only 2 other X-Men that appear in the film, and lots of those kind of jokes. And the thing is, it's a film that, if you have that whole thing of the comedy films needing to do 6 laughs to kind of pass the test of being a good comedy, you will pass that in the opening 30 seconds of this film, and I'm not kidding. Will you not agree with me on that?
No.
Well, okay, opening 5 minutes of the film.
Because I sort of like, I saw the joke after the first 1 or 2, and it sort of like smirked and giggled at the first 2, but then because the fact that it repeats the joke no matter what it actually came up with, even though it's very PC, the kind of stuff that it says in the opening sequence, rather than going in all guns blazing shock tactics kind of thing, I felt like the joke was too overused. But I would agree in the first, if you let me go to the first 15 minutes, then I'll agree there. Okay, which is even more impressive for you in an hour and 40 odd minute film. Yeah, considering that, I think over the last, I would say since the start of January, we might have seen about 3, 4, maybe 5 comedies, and if you tally up the jokes in those 5 comedies, it still would not have gotten anywhere close to the first 15 minutes of this. Yeah, and that's not just saying the first 15 minutes are funny and then that's it stops being funny. This is funny consistently all the way through the film. It's just written with, it's a character that is just so honestly quite disgusting, but is humorous about it, and you find there'll be some bits in it that some people I know will find really quite gross and graphic and be a bit all too much to handle, and some people will kind of really hate the character for certain things. But by the end of the film, you'll come out basically going, you know, Deadpool's an interesting character. You can't watch the film without at least admitting that. And it's crazy. It's got some really nicely handled action sequences. I actually like the way that this film is constructed, of the whole flashbacks and it telling the story in a different way, because it's, as much as it is, you know, this origin story thing, it's a little bit different in that respect. So I think it's a really good film. I mean, it's getting crazy good sort of feedback from people seeing it. I don't think I've seen anything particularly negative about it, and it's a film that it's not for kids. Obviously, it's 15 rated here. It's rated R in America, which means no one under the age of 17 without an adult, which is weird, but you know, it's the upper end of the spectrum of ratings, and rightly so, because it is graphic for obvious reasons. But it's a great film, and it's probably one that's got now, because this is Fox and not Marvel, has Marvel thinking, oh, would we have done that? And I think if Marvel had done this, they would have not had the guts to actually do it being graphic and violent like that. They would have dumbed it down a bit and tried to make it the PG sort of, the 12A thing. And you have to give props to 20th Century Fox for actually doing this, and also doing all the jokes and things they're doing with the ad campaign, because it really is basically the character of Deadpool on the screen. Yeah, if you let Fox, if you let Marvel handle it, they probably would have done an X-Men with Deadpool again. That's what they would have done. They would have made him pretty much mute again and absolutely completely pointless, like they did in X-Men Origins. Oh, that was Fox as well, though. Yeah, I know, but if you gave it back to Marvel, that's what they would have done. They would not have been risky enough to actually do what happened with Deadpool, but at least Fox realised they made a mistake with what they created for Wolverine film, and so they thought, we need to actually rectify this, because the character of Deadpool is nothing like we portrayed in that movie. He is a foul-mouthed person who's obsessed with alcohol, sex, and violence, and all that kind of stuff. It even makes a great reference back to that a couple of times as well, to that misstep in the film. It's like it's all, you know, it's self-referential in that respect, that it talks about, oh, you know, I don't want to do that again, or you know, someone says, oh, maybe I should take your mouth shut, or sew your mouth shut again, and he goes, oh, I wouldn't do that. And Ryan Reynolds does that also with a few of his missteps in his career as well. Green Lantern, for example. Yeah. He does that. The film itself is a lot of fun. It's a hell of a lot of fun. It's got the typical over-the-top violence you would expect from a comic book movie, or hope from a comic book movie. The character himself, he is non-PC whatsoever. He is the anti-hero, but he is an anti-hero who you like. because normally anti-heroes you just can't be bothered with, because they're meandering, boring messes who just mope most of the time, when in fact all he wants to do is crack a joke at every single moment, no matter what kind of thing is happening. So you've got like the over-the-top violence, which will keep people really interested in the film. You've got the sexual innuendo, which will make people giggle a lot, because it's sort of like bringing the jokes down to the lowest common denominator without being like too bad by doing that, relying heavily on poo jokes or anything like that. It never ever does that. So you've got all that kind of stuff as well. And the thing though, the problem with the movie, it has got a couple of problems. It starts to lax a little bit when it gets very close to the end, because it realizes it's a superhero movie of some sorts, and it needs to have the big massive set piece scene into it. So it feels like that set piece scene is just forced into it slightly too much. And also the bad guy is just very one-dimensional, very flat, very typical kind of thing that we've seen before multiple times in these Marvel movies. It just never seems to be able to get the bad guys properly handled out. Loki, for example, I thought was very well done, but his character was diluted the more you actually saw him. In this one, they took a British guy, they made him a bit sort of like pouty kind of thing, and moody kind of thing, and yeah, they went, yeah, why not, we'll go with that. But overall, the film itself is enjoyable. One of the characters who I actually really liked, who was underplayed throughout the film, was the blind woman who Deadpool lived with. I thought she was fantastic. The in jokes between them two, like with the IKEA furniture and all that kind of stuff, was I found them more funnier sometimes than some of the quips that Deadpool was making. So yeah, it's an enjoyable film, and I'm not a huge superhero fan, but I actually quite enjoyed Deadpool.
Yeah, and it's not 3D.
No, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Just imagine seeing some of the stuff that happens in Deadpool in 3D.
He'd be ducking from decapitated heads flying towards the screen.
Yeah, more than just that though. And also, let's just see it, something happens to a mythical animal that you never ever want to see, ever. And steer right away to the end. Because there is an end credit sequence, which is again fourth wall breaking multiple times.
Yeah, and a great reference to a film that I love that as well. I just generally love that.
I still don't get why people, when they go to see a Marvel movie, still walk out while the credits are rolling. Do they not get it now? Marvel films have been doing the end credit sequence for years. You should understand that there is going to be an end of credit sequence. So just steer in your seat. You can actually look up at the people who created the film that you've just watched, and then walk out at the end of it. Give them a few plaudits. Pride and Prejudice and Zombies then is the next film, directed by Bursteers. Now, I probably don't have to tell you the overall plot that much of it, considering that it does take the Jane Austen classic novel of Pride and Prejudice and just add zombies to it. So, in a way, it does take the simple story that we've seen from Pride and Prejudice before, which everybody knows of, because the amount of times that story has been retold, you'll have probably been forced it down your throat during English when you're in school. So everybody will have done some kind of form of Pride and Prejudice. However, in this telling of it, it takes that and then adds the undead to it. And then it's set in the 19th century. It centres around the Bennet family. Lily James plays Elizabeth Bennet. You've got Bella Heathcote, who plays Jane Bennet, the rest of the Bennet family. And then you've got the Mr. Darcy character played by Sam Riley, and Douglas Booth, who plays Mr. Bingley, Charles Dance, who's the father of it. And in this clip, you'll hear Matt Smith, Doctor Who himself, ex-Doctor Who himself, who's probably the comic relief of the entire film.
I must confess, Mrs. Bennet, the fairest wifely choices be right here in this room. I declare that I am enchanted by your daughter Jane, and request to speak to her alone, if I may.
Oh dear, Parson. I'm afraid Jane is already spoken for. We expect a serious proposal imminently.
Oh, fuddle.
But Liz is quite available, and almost as fair as Jane.
Is there absolutely no negotiating over Jane?
The early bird catches the worm, Mr. Collins.
Oh, indeed.
Be mindful of your talent for the delicate compliment, sir.
Oh, no, why, yes. She is almost as fair as the other one. Splendid.
And so you couldn't stop yourself laughing there.
Yeah, because it does make you giggle. I found myself at most of his scenes like that, and other scenes throughout the film.
Yeah, so end off giving the Bennett sisters swords and being able to fight, end off throwing in lots of zombies into it, and you've got a sort of Pride and Prejudice that everybody knows of, but completely flipped on your head. So unlike with what you normally get with retellings of stories that have been done before, for example Cinderella, that was, I think it was just a like for like live action retelling of the animated feature rather than doing your own take on it. This is based on source material. It's Pride and Prejudice Zombies is a book and a comic strip as well, and so it is based upon that, but at least it's actually got the gall of taking something that people know and adding something to it to create something different. And I can't say that it works. It works sometimes, but most of the time for me it falls flat. Now, you're probably thinking that this would be a really good film for me. It's in my ballpark. It's zombies. It's sort of like the action kind of thing. It's the enjoyable kind of quippy nature of the movie itself, etc., etc. However, it takes a while to get to the zombies. It takes a good 45 minutes to get to the zombies, and so for that 45 minutes, you're more Pride and Prejudice rather than the zombies. And that's not what I went to see. I went to see Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, so I'd expected them to pretty much be half and half. Because I know the story about Pride and Prejudice, the zombie element to it was the part that interested me, so it takes a while to get to that. When it gets to the violence part involving the zombies, it's not that bad, to be honest. It cuts away from a lot of scenes that you expect to see the violence, and especially at 15. If you look back at Deadpool, it never shies away from any of the violence that happens in the film. Whereas this one, it feels like it doesn't deserve to have the camera onto it and show what is happening to a zombie. It's a zombie getting decapitated. So what? Like, we have never seen that before? So it shies away from that, and it just gets a bit boring in the central section of the movie. It lags a lot. When it gets to the zombie apocalypse in the last half an hour, it becomes stupidly predictable. When it tries to change the story around a little bit, it gets stupidly predictable. You can predict what some of the characters are going to do very easily. So it was a movie that I was hoping to be entertained by, when in fact it was just a movie that once I came out of the cinema I thought, okay then, that was Pride and Prejudice. It had a couple of zombies in it, a couple of decent performances, and a Matt Smith probably the standout performance in the entirety of the film, but that's about it. It's going to be completely forgettable for me.
Well, I disagree. I actually found it quite enjoyable. I went into it thinking, oh god, it's Pride, Prejudice and Zombies. It's going to be one of these terrible rehash things of mixing things together and things thrown together that didn't make quite any sense. And I thought it was quite well handled and well put together, and I really got into it. And I thought that the thing that I found a bit interesting about it was that it was different because you had the girls in it who had been given training as a result of that. They show being more confident, and there's a slight difference to them in their personalities than just the simple girls of Pride and Prejudice. And you have the thing of the fighting is a part of that, but also their confidence in their guts to do things, it's I think more interesting that. So I think it's been well developed that you have the world where you have the look of it has changed because all the buildings have big walls that have got spikes and everything on them to try and stop zombies getting in and stuff, and I just thought it was quite a well fleshed out world, and I really got into it, enjoyed it. I don't think it's amazingly a brilliant film up there. I've sort of say a good 3 out of 5 stars sort of thing. But I got into it, had fun with it, and I came out thoroughly entertained by the end of it.
I wasn't entertained, unfortunately, because it seemed to more care about the Pride and Prejudice stuff than the zombie stuff, and when it realised it needs to show the undead as it is, like some of the plot points in the movie was just ridiculous the way it was actually handled. If you look at also a couple of scenes in the film, specifically the zombie battle scenes, when you do see a couple of characters riding on a horse through the zombies, they never get attacked. They're going through hordes and hordes of zombies, but they never get attacked until they get to a specific area which they need to get to in time, and you see the horde of zombies then chasing after them. So it's just inconsistencies on multiple levels after an incident that happens which has caused the zombies to go as rampant as they are in the last 10-15 minutes. So it just made me scratch my head a lot, and no. for me, unfortunately, no.
Okay, disappointing. Zoolander 2, talking of disappointing, which is directed by Ben Stiller, who co-wrote it with Justin Toro. It is the return of Derek Zoolander, played by Ben Stiller, the model who has, after the events of the first film, his daycare centre has suffered a bit of a disaster and completely collapsed, which then killed his wife. He then had struggles after that trying to sort of manage with that. His son was taken away from him. Cut to 10 years later, and he's now, everything sort of is all falling apart. He is a recluse living sort of out in the middle of nowhere, as is Hansel, played by Owen Wilson, and the two of them end up sort of coming together and being invited to the new sort of show that's being done by the now head of sort of fashion, Atos, played by Kristen Wiig, who is basically this weird character that's very much like LOLO, cannot pronounce things properly. The whole thing is they're invited to this, and Derek sees this as potentially a way to get his son back by proving that he can be a sort of a good earner, still make money, and still be sort of in the business. But the problem is that really they're a bit defunct. Here's a clip.
You still got it, D-Zone. You're Derek Zoolander. You stopped a Chinese throwing star in midair with a look. I was there. That's not me anymore. Yes, it is. Hey, flash me that beautiful look. Give me that incredible Magnum.
No. Think fast. Magnum. Wait. No. Magnum, now! Oh! Come on! You got this, but you gotta focus. Oh! Come on! Hansel, stop! You got this! Oh! Yeah! Maybe we could try a washcloth. Tequila! Hansel, no! Oh! No! It's not working!
So there's always this plot that's added in as well, of there is someone going around the world killing celebrities that all die with the blue steel face or something like the blue steel face, and of course then the government or Interpol's fashion division, which is with the character Valentina, played by Penelope Cruz, a former swimsuit model, who is now sort of trying to get his help to figure out what's going on. And of course you have Mugatu back, played by Will Ferrell, thrown into the mix, who may or may not be connected with all this. It is sadly a big disappointment, and I say that as someone who originally did not sort of get into the whole thing with Zoolander until sometime later when I did get into it. I do think now that the first one is a brilliant, very clever comedy that is a good sort of, it's one of these things that references the whole thing and takes a look at the whole ridiculousness of the fashion industry. The second one doesn't really do that. It does have a couple of moments like that, including one sequence which is just strangely just funny but odd, with Benedict Cumberbatch playing a character just called All, who is sort of androgynously played and really weird, honestly, in a moment that kind of makes you sit there and go, Benedict Cumberbatch agreed to this and is clearly loving just hamming it up in that scene. He's in the film for about 3 minutes and that's it, but he's clearly absolutely loving it. It's probably about the best thing in the whole film, and the rest of the time there's loads of jokes in it that are just really flat or ridiculous, and as it goes on it gets even more ridiculous towards the end, and a big thing at the end which you just sat there and I honestly sat there and I was thinking, really, you're going this route, you're doing that? And I just honestly started wondering, we waited 10 years to get this. It was a push for him to get it through and get it done, and in the same week as we had 10 years that Ryan Reynolds was fighting to get Deadpool. How can you get two completely different responses like this? How can you be 10 years trying to get something and end up making this? It's really just disappointingly bad. It's just, it's not awful, but I walked out of it and I was thinking, I didn't laugh at half the jokes, let alone a quarter of them. It's just so badly put together. I'm really disappointed with Ben Stiller's directing it, because Ben Stiller can direct films. He's done some great ones. Cable Guy is a great comedy. Tropic Thunder is a great comedy. The first Zoolander, they're all done by Ben Stiller, and he does other things like the Secret Life of Walter Mitty, which is a weird but great sort of, well, not comedy, a drama with weird comedy aspirations. And
dramedy.
Yeah, and he can do good films. He can do great films. He's just not doing them with this.
I have no intention in seeing it because I like I said to you when the clip was playing. The first Zoolander is one of those movies that completely skated me by, so I've not actually seen it. No matter how many times it's been repeated on television, I've not seen it, so I have no affiliation with any of the characters whatsoever. Because, like you said, it built up a cult following over time. The first one didn't do very well at the box office at all. However, over the time, it had developed a cult sort like status. So do you think like the gap between the first and the second film was just too big for the sequel to be out to make any kind of impact?
I think that the fact is they've done a sequel where they've tried to do, we need to add stories, we need to add plotting more than the first one.
Yeah.
And that's where the problem is, because as I say, it's been 10 years. The fashion industry has changed monumentally in those 10 years, and yet they only focus on that for about 5 minutes in the film. And that 5 minutes is the 5 minutes that's funny. So if they did the whole film
itself, by the sounds of things, hasn't changed along with the times itself.
No.
It's pretty much stuck back.
Yeah, and if it had been about the whole thing of how the model industry has changed in those 10 years, and the characters would be doing something like that, that would make for a really funny film.
When in fact, by the sounds of it, it's not.
No.
Okay then, Alvin and the Chipmunks, The Road Chip. Now, we'll play a clip in a moment, and you should be really glad that it's not one of the clips where they're singing. So you should be happy with that. Have you seen any of the Alvin and the Chipmunks films?
No.
I think I've reviewed 2.
I think I lucked out and I saw Zoolander instead, and you saw these.
Yeah, I reviewed Chipwrecked, which was the last one. There's 4. This is the 4th in the Alvin and the Chipmunks films. So I've seen 2 of them, and unfortunately I reviewed 2 of them for the show. So again, I get the bad straw, and it follows Alvin, Simon, and Theodore. Everybody knows who the Chipmunks is. No matter how much you bang your head against the wall, you just scream, "Make it stop! Make it stop!" They live with Dave, played by Jason Lee. He's their supposedly adopted father. When they discover that Dave has got now a girlfriend and he's actually going off to Miami with her, it's up to supposedly the Chipmunks to try and stop him. Like I said, clip give you a feel of the film. It's not them singing.
Come on, party's over. Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's mine. Oh, you had to grab one last one? Yeah. Okay, enjoy that. Yeah.
Were you surprised?
No, I wasn't surprised. And you want to know why? Because hashtag Dave's party was trending on Twitter.
Nice. Sorry.
Look, I know my work schedule is tough, but I thought you guys were old enough to take care of yourselves. But I guess you're not mature enough for that.
That's insulting. We are very mature. Sorry. Pizza toots.
Now, would you believe that is Justin Long doing the voice of Alvin?
Really?
Yes, Justin Long does the voice of Alvin out of the Chipmunks.
Okay, no.
I know. So Samantha is the girl that Dave has actually fell in love with. She has a son played by Josh Green, who plays Miles, who's more interested in playing guitar, except that however he decides to team up with the Chipmunks, head off to Miami to try and stop it when Alvin discovers that Dave is going to supposedly propose to Samantha, and hijinks ensues. It's an annoying film. What did you expect? You've got those high-pitched chipmunks squeaking along for the 90 minutes that it's on for, singing along as well in their annoying fashion. However, the film itself is not as bad as Chipwrecked, because you had triple the amount of annoyance, because you had Alvin, Simon, Theodore, but you also had the Chipheads, and you had them trapped on a desert island. So you had a 3-year of hell. The Chipheads pop up twice in the film. Once when they're hosting American Idol, and this guy trying to sing, and that's painful as well. But yeah, they only pop up a couple of times in the film. It's awful. It's still really bad, but it's not as annoying as the previous Chipmunks films. There's a couple of moments in the movie where you sort of like snigger tiny a little bit. There is one little scene in the film which I do have to admit, it made me smirk. And it's sort of like a childish joke which involves one of the Chipmunks, this one, Simon. He's up the leg of Miles's character, and he gets so nervous he ends up peeing himself, and the person at the airport security thinks it's Miles who's done it. And that's probably the funniest moment in the entirety of the film.
I don't need to see it now, do I?
Yeah, you don't have to, but I've saved you a headache, to be honest. Because, like I said, the film itself it is bad, but it's nowhere near as terrible as you might expect it to be. Hopefully, it should be the last movie, but these movies make money, and so if they continue to make money, then they're going to continue to make them, which is an unfortunate thing, but what'd you expect? Kids will be entertained by it for 90 minutes. Adults will just want to take a few drinks with them, and they'll end up coming out the cinema drunk because they know that's the only way they can get through the movie. So yeah, it's
okay. Concussion, which is
what I had at the end of Alvin and the Chipmunks.
It's directed by Peter Landersman. It's also written in part by him, who has sort of based it also part on a GQ article by Jean-Marie Lascaz. It is the story of Dr. Bennett Omalu, who is a immigrant from, I forget where he's actually from, but he's basically someone who comes to the US. He's a doctor, skilled pathologist. I'm not sure if it is or not, but he's a doctor who's sort of skilled in the whole thing of biology and to do with things like the brain and such. There are issues around some people that are elderly ex-football players who are behaving oddly, some of them ultimately dying, and he starts sort of looking into this because he finds connections and starts to find that there are issues with them because of basically the damage that is received during playing football, with the whole thing of there's a great scene actually which shows the issue of basically the human brain inside the human head is not cushioned properly and is not protected. It basically takes a glass jar and puts an onion inside it and closes the lid and says that the onion is the brain, the glass jar is the human skull, and shakes it and just basically completely destroys the onion to bits inside of it by bashing it against the inside of the glass. And he goes, this is basically what's happening to football players, and then obviously their brains are getting damaged in this way, and so he starts to sort of get this sort of on the ball to, you know, the NFL, the National Football League in America, who of course start to get a little bit worried and end up sort of trying to find ways to stop him and shut him down. Here's a clip.
What do they want?
The NFL wants you to say you made it all up.
I made it up.
They're accusing you of fraud.
If you retract, you'll be fine. This all goes away.
Why are they doing this?
They're terrified of you. Bennett Omalu is going to war with a corporation that has 20 million people on a weekly basis craving their product, the same way they crave food. The NFL owns a day of the week, the same day the church used to own. Now it's theirs. They're very big.
So we were discussing it there. You found out it's Nigerian.
Yes.
Yeah. He's got, at the same time there is a subplot revolving, because it's based on a true character and true events, revolving around a woman who comes to live with him as sort of a way of helping the church, because she's come from a sort of a bad situation, played by Gugu Mbatha Raw. And she comes into the situation and ends up sort of becoming good friends with him, and they end up sort of becoming married and such. And that's a subplot which I personally found to be unnecessary and really kind of a bit distracting in the film. The thing I do like about it is it's a very good kind of procedural of the whole thing of this, investigating this happening, working out the problem, and then the whole thing of that you have the small man taking on the big corporation sort of thing, and that aspect of it I really did enjoy and really got into. Regarding the whole thing of Will Smith and this whole Oscar thing, which has blown up as a result of this because he hasn't been nominated for a Best Actor role in the film. The other actors who've been nominated are Bryan Cranston for Trumbo, Leonardo DiCaprio for The Revenant, Michael Fassbender for Steve Jobs, Eddie Redmayne for The Danish Girl, and Matt Damon for The Martian. Now, I haven't seen Danish Girl, but I have to say, of those ones there, the other four there, they were all, in my opinion, better than Will Smith's performance. I don't think the Oscars have basically gone, oh, we don't want it because he's black. I genuinely think there's nothing wrong with his performance in this, but it's not groundbreaking or outstanding in any way that's better than any of these others. I don't know, as I say, Eddie Redmayne, but his performance in this is very perfunctory. It is a good performance, but it's not Will Smith at his best. It's not Oscar performance acting, I don't think. It's a good role, but it's just it's not to the level of the other ones, and I think that's kind of been blown out of proportion. The film is a solid, good sort of, as I say, another one of these kind of procedural investigative things, almost like leading up to a court thing. It doesn't have a court thing in it, but it has that feel of, you know, someone finds this out, someone goes to, you know, break the news on this, and they get shut down, and then they have to look into it and do the other thing, and it's one of those kind of things that it's a perfectly good sort of lower level thriller in that regard. The problem, I think, is because it's based on a true event, is that there's not so much here to make it that much of a gripping, entertaining drama as it potentially could be if it was something that had been made up, or a fictional story. So I think it's a perfectly good film. I think it's better than kind of TV movie, because it could have quite easily been a standard TV movie thing. It is better than that. But I think that it suffers because of the fact that it doesn't have enough material there to make it as solid the film as it wants to be.
And that's sort of like the annoying shame, isn't it? Because the fact that does it feel like an Oscar-based movie in a way?
It feels like it wants to be. It's trying to be. And a lot of the time when that's the case, it means that it doesn't end up being that way. And I think that unfortunately it's got into this whole thing of kind of a racial war over it, because of the fact that people are saying, oh, you know, Will Smith hasn't been nominated because of his colour. I don't think he's not been nominated because of his colour. I think he's not been nominated because in a year that has had some fantastic performances, there are even other performances, like I couldn't name them right now, but I'm sure I'd be able to go back and think and find one or two other performances I would put ahead of Will Smith's performance in Concussion than with those other ones to go up. So if one of those other ones wasn't as good, there are other actors that have done better jobs than what Will Smith does in this film. Nothing against Will Smith as an actor, nothing against him in this film, but it's just it's not to that level.
My guess is somebody like Steve Carell, like The Big Short or something like that. His performance is better than.
I would say Steve Carell's is better because it's a much more, and I don't want to say it's a much more sort of attention-seeking performance, but it's a much more. There's more character to it. This character, I mean, the thing with this character is, as much as he may be based on a true story, he is a character who has done several doctorates. He's a super doctor at loads of things. He's doing all this. He does works. He seems to have no sort of detracting character flaws, and it just seems too much like it's written. Oh yeah, this is an amazing performance. This is an amazing character. Of course, give us an Oscar. That's what you don't want. You don't want that feeling. You want to be going there and you want to walk out and go, I feel for that man. I really thought it was a good actor. I really thought it was a good role. I didn't see Will Smith on the screen. I saw that character on the screen. I saw Will Smith.
So the way I'm sensing it is, you would think it's sort of like if he was nominated for an Oscar, it's like a pity nomination, because of the fact that he would have probably only been one of the black actors to be nominated for it. So you would look at it and think, as a matter of fact, the judging panel have made it worse by just adding one black actor into it, the token kind of guy.
Yeah, I would have turned around and I would have said, well, Will Smith's only in there because he's black. In a horrible way that sounds, but I would have said Will Smith's performance against all those others. If Will Smith wins it, then something's not right.
See, that's the way people need to actually realise it is the fact that we don't look at it from a colour perspective. We look at it from what the category is actually saying.
Mm-hmm.
Best actor. We look at from the person who's portrayed the character on screen rather than their colour. So it's not down to that. I can see though the judging panel at the Oscars looking at it like that, and people might think that looking at it like that, but I'm hoping it's how I'm thinking it rather than the way it's actually perceived to be. Because if it is that way, then I'm glad that things are changing. And some things definitely do need to change, but it just means that you need more stronger black actors out there to make better characters.
I don't think you need stronger black actors out there. I think you need stronger black characters.
Black actors playing the stronger characters.
Stronger black characters,
stronger black actors out there, like Idris Elba, for example, playing the stronger black, playing the stronger character that he has done with the BAFTA nomination.
Even if that's the case, I would say, I mean, the whole thing of having someone written as being a black character, just write them as a character and then have whoever they cast as being the best person for it. You know, colour doesn't matter for the performance, unless it's something specifically to do with race or history or something like that, then that's the case. If not, though, it shouldn't matter.
Can of worms, open up, let's close it.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Gem and the Holograms. Have you heard of Gem and the Holograms before?
Only by title, and that's it.
Yeah, did you know that it was an American animated TV series that aired for about 4 years from 1986?
Nope.
And did you know this was actually directed by John M. Chu, the guy who did G.I. Joe Retaliation and Step Up and stuff like that?
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, and so the film itself is just a very straightforward movie. It centres around Gem, or Jerica as her real name is, played by Aubrey Peebles, she was in an American TV series based on country music. I forgot the name of the TV series. But it was an American drama that was based around the country music scene.
Nashville?
That's it, yeah. Nashville. She was in that, and so it centres around a character of Jerica Gem. She's got a sister, Kimber, played by Stephanie Scott. They moved in with their aunt at a young age. Her aunt's got 2 other kids as well. They now pretty much form sisters for a 4-piece band, and they like to play music, shoot each other with cameras, put on shows and things like that. However, Gem is discovered when her sister sort of like accidentally, big huge massive air quotes, puts the video onto the internet. She becomes a huge massive sensation, gets the attention of a character played by I haven't wrote a character name down, which is annoying, and I forgot who the actress is as well, which makes it even better. So
hey, professional.
I know, I make mistakes every now and again, everybody does. She gets the attention of Juliette Lewis's character, who's sort of like the top-notch person at this record label. Gem becomes a huge massive star along with her sisters. However, the only reason why she's there is to discover a sort of like a treasure trail that her father's left behind from this robot that he created. I know, it's weird. The film itself it's very much in the guise of things like a Step Up thing or stuff like that. It's actually a mixture between Short Circuit and these High School Musical movies. That's the best way to describe it. Short Circuit as in the robot thing, with the robot character in this, and then the High School Musical stuff with the singing and stuff. And this got a big massive backlash. Lots of fans hated what John M. Chu did with it. He's been trying to get the character on screen in the last 20 years, to be honest. This was supposedly going to be his first project, and he's constantly been trying to get it onto the big screen. And
maybe it should have been.
It just absolutely bombed at the US box office. It was one of the worst taking films. On a $6 million budget, it only took $2.5 million in total. It had one of the worst openings of any movie in the history of the US box office to open over 1,000 screens plus. It didn't even manage to take 1 million in its opening weekend, and so it bombed there. It's been thrown into cinemas over here to hopefully get a tiny audience. It's not going to do that because the film itself is completely forgettable. The music in the movie is very just tuned up to the 10th degree. Like you've got Cher with that computerized voice that she does, and then they've just turned it up and made some pop songs out of it by throwing like a Nicki Minaj kind of character on the top or stuff like that. And so the music is bland. The film itself has got a ridiculous storyline revolving around this treasure hunt and this robot. There's a love interest thrown into the mix because they think they need to do that. And overall, it just feels like Step Up, but instead of dancing, it's all about music. It's boring, it's pandering, it's meandering, and it's completely forgettable.
Okay, my last cinema release is A Bigger Splash. It's directed by Luca Guadagnino. I don't know if I think I'm definitely pronouncing that wrong, but look it up if you're curious. I'm not going to say it again.
IMDb.
Yeah. It is a drama centering around 4 characters mainly. You have the 2 characters of Marianne Lane and Paul de Smet, who are played by Tilda Swinton and Matthias Schoenaerts, who are a couple. She is a big sort of successful singer who has had to have an operation on her throat, so as a result of that she's currently sort of resting on holiday with him to try and rest and recover, obviously not being able to talk and such because of this, and her old sort of manager and friend and former lover, played by Ralph Fiennes, turns up with his unknown as of until sort of 12 months earlier daughter, Penelope, played by Dakota Johnson. He turns up there, sort of end up turning their lives upside down and end up staying with them for a while, and the 4 of them sort of going through their days as they're all sort of a mix of them resting, because Paul would rather that they didn't stay, he'd rather they stayed in a hotel somewhere, and there's this whole thing of that Harry, played by Ralph Fiennes, is sort of a hugely annoying and character who just won't stop talking and always interjecting things, and is always talking about things that no one wants to talk about. In particular, Paul having an issue of that previously he has tried to commit suicide some time past, and has injuries to scars on his body, and talking about things like that. It is a film, we have a clip, I'm not going to play it because we're running on time, but it's a film that is sort of central on their performances. It is a good drama regarding that sort of the weird thing about it is that it does every now and again have little flashbacks to things and events that happened between them in the past, because with the exception of Penelope, the other 3 all knew each other before, and how things have sort of changed since then. But personally, I found the flashbacks very disjointed, very at points unnecessary, and I found them very much that there was some great performances by, in particular, Tilda Swinton being a character not really being able to say a lot, that it went a lot off of a look between people that you didn't need to see the flashback. You knew there was something that you knew from the performances, because they are great performances in the film. It does have a graphic sort of level of sexual content and full frontal nudity throughout, and it is a film which has some sort of darker moments in it as well. So it's not all sort of drama and happiness, it's drama, and these people have issues and they're realistic. The one big thing I will find though is, I did say I found it extremely overlong, in no small part due to these flashbacks being in there. I think they should have all been taken out. There is some sequences which are a bit, I found myself sitting there kind of wondering, should I be laughing at this, or is it just weird? Or because there's a bit where Ralph Fiennes is asked to basically dance by someone playing a music, and he just dances and that's it, and it's very odd. Almost, I was reminded to a degree of Oscar Isaacs in Ex Machina, just really weird and kind of out there, and you kind of sit, it's supposed to be kind of almost intentionally weirdly kind of homoerotic or something like that, and you just wonder what's going on and what the thought was in it. But it's an overall an okay film. I didn't love it. I have heard people say more that they enjoyed it and got into it. I found that it was just disjointed. I thought at the beginning as well, I didn't connect with the characters. It took a lot longer to connect with them than it did, I think, for a lot of other films. I think the first 20 minutes could have quite easily been stripped down a bit, and they could have had a lot less of that setup and just been thrown into it, and it would have been for a better film and a shorter film.
Yeah, quickly just mention the Green Inferno. It's directed by Eli Roth. I'll probably go into a review of it on next week's show, because it's out on Blu-ray and DVD. It's getting thrown into cinema screens for a limited run, and then it's getting straight released on Blu-ray and DVD because it was released in America in the middle of last year. It went through a lot of trouble trying to get it released. No studio would pick it up, and then Jason Blum from Blumhouse Productions put it under his Blumhouse Tilt label, exactly what he did with Gem and the Holograms, and it's Eli Roth's take on Cannibal Holocaust. So like I said, I'll probably go into a review of it on next week's show, because it's more suited for Blu-ray and DVD release rather than cinema release. But if you think of Cannibal Holocaust, if it was directed by Eli Roth, that'll give you an indication of what to expect. We'll go to an ad break, and after that we'll have the DVD and Blu-ray section of the show.
There was a real sense of you were doing something wrong, but that did give it that that feeling of excitement.
When the reveal of the film happens, that's when it just becomes absurd.
And the atmosphere and just the sense you get whenever you go into it is undeniable.
It did absolutely zero for me, which could be for the hype.
What we've just discussed there is just scratching the surface on it.
Hi, I'm Eric England, the director of Contracted, and you're listening to From Page to Screen, the horror show.
And welcome back to this week's Monday Movie Show, to the DVD and Blu-ray releases in the home section, which thankfully we don't have quite as many films to go through in this week. We just have...
Blah, blah.
It's blah, blah, blah.
And blah, blah, because it was just going from the two front. But Hotel Transylvania 2, and then The Program, and Guillermo del Toro's Crimson Peak.
Yeah, but before that, as usual, the the DVD and Blu-ray top 10, starting at number 10 with 50 Shades of Grey.
Should be glad that next week's chart might be slightly different because the Disney buy one get one free is back on. So some of these movies should be thrown out of the chart, and hopefully 50 Shades of Grey is definitely going to be one of them.
Okay, number 9 is a new entry for War and Peace.
It's the TV series. It's the BBC one. Causing controversy by showing a naked man. It's after 9 o'clock at night, so what do you expect? It's not going to be child friendly after 9 o'clock at night. So get over it. Who cares? It's based on the Leo Tolstoy huge massive book, which is over 1,000 pages long. I read the book. I fell asleep multiple times during it. English assignment for it, but I think everybody knows what War and Peace is.
Number 8 is Straight Outta Compton.
It's gotten more plaudits than I probably expected it should have gotten. It's an okay film. It's got a few little decent acting pieces in the movie itself. Just overall, it just did not do much for me.
Stickman is at number 7.
It's that BBC thing that was shown at Christmas. Very weird release on Blu-ray and DVD.
Yep. Everest at number 6.
I really liked Everest. Much better on the bigger screen that you can see it on, the better. I saw it in laser IMAX. That's probably the biggest screen I'm ever going to actually see anything on, to be honest. It's the biggest screen in England, in the UK, the laser IMAX one that I saw it on, and definitely it was a tiny bit expensive. It was £20 per ticket, so that's even before you buy any kind of popcorn or any drinks whatsoever. So £20 a ticket is sort of like pushing it, but when you've got like that kind of chance of seeing it, you don't mind paying that little bit extra to get the experience, and it was worth the money.
And get good sound as well, because it's a good sound mix on this film as well.
Dolby Atmos, especially if you can see it in Atmos, definitely.
Number 5 is the Maze Runner Scorched Trials.
Yeah, it's like most of these teen series. They're sort of like, after having a good start, they sort of like wane a little bit with its sequel. The Divergent series, for example. In a way, I'm not looking forward to the next one because the last one wasn't very good, and this one looks bad, to be honest. So, yeah, it was. That's not to say Maze Runner Scorched Trials is a bad film. It's got a few little decent ideas in it. It's just nowhere near as interesting as the first one.
Dropping down slightly for number 3 and number 4 is Sicario.
Yeah, very good acting, fantastic cinematography, good directing from Denis Villeneuve. I think Villeneuve has done better films. Prisoner, for example, is definitely, I think, one of his strongest films, and so. But he is a director who's got a very interesting eye when it comes to characters and set pieces, and just even getting somebody like a very well-known cinematographer to do shots where it is just expansive shots, but you get the feel of these expansive shots. So I really like Denis Villeneuve for what he actually creates. Enemy is definitely a film that I implore people to
still haven't seen yet.
Yeah, see it just for the very sort of like juxtaposition kind of thing that the last frame provides, because it is one of the most shocking last frames I've ever seen in a film. So yeah, it's definitely, and Jake Gyllenhaal's fantastic in that movie. But yeah, Sicario, very well acted, very well directed.
New entry at number 3 for Pan.
Yeah, first 15 minutes of the film, you get sort of like a feeling that this might not be as bad as a lot of people make it out to be, because it's got a fun feel to it that you might expect an entertaining ride. It's just once it gets to Neverland, the film collapses on itself because it can't sustain what it's actually trying to throw at the screen. It reminded me of the second Percy Jackson film, rather than like the first Percy Jackson movie was a old-fashioned children's adventure film, whereas the sequel just tried to throw too much at it and see what sticks, and pretty much nothing does. That's exactly what happens with Pan. The director, he thinks, oh, let's put this in, let's put this in. We need some sort of like monkeys, which are enemies, which look like skeletons and they don't work. We need Hugh Jackman just hamming it up beyond ham. He looks like a walking pig by the end of it, when in fact that does not work. We need some peril with some big, huge, massive special effects scenes which don't work at all. So overall, the film itself, and throw Rooney Mara into the mix, and you've got a messy movie.
Legend at number 2.
Good acting from Tom Hardy. The rest of the film is just lacking.
Yep, go with that. Which means a new entry at number 1 for The Martian.
Yeah, we both really like The Martian. Ridley Scott directs a fantastic film when he's got a fantastic script to work on. Thanks to Drew Goddard, that's what he's done. There's too many characters in the movie. A couple of the characters could have easily been taken out of the film itself and more concentrated on the Matt Damon character, even though most of the film is about his character and his plight on Mars to try and get off there and survive as well while rescuers are coming to get him. But it's still very well performed by him, very well directed, excellently written, some good other supporting roles. But yeah, it's a good film, very good film actually.
Okay, on to this week's first DVD release. We've got Hotel Transylvania 2, which is obviously the sequel to the first movie. We have Adam Sandler returning as the voice of Dracula. This time his daughter has now had a child of her own. This child, obviously being half human, with the character from the first film, is yet to sort of show any signs of having his fangs or being any kind of a monster. Drac is obviously upset about this and hoping to turn the kid into sort of a vampire, supposedly with the theory that scaring the kid and being able to do that and will actually bring about his fangs and make him into a proper, grown vampire. And of course, there's all these things going on with his daughter Mavis is sort of looking to maybe leave the hotel and move away. So of course he's under sort of pressure to try and do this and get it sorted so that the kid can sort of stay, and obviously that she will stay as well. Here's a clip.
I'm going to teach you how to turn into a bat, like me. See?
Cool.
Yes, cool, like I said. Now you try.
I'm a bat. I'm a bat.
Denisovich, take a breath. Feel the bat. Not a chicken. What's that, the electric boogaloo? If I show you I can bust a move, will you try to fly then?
Uh-huh.
Why are you guys dancing?
So here's the thing with Hotel Transylvania 2. With the first film, you didn't know what to expect. It came along, it was an Adam Sandler film, so you're thinking, oh, of course it's going to be terrible. And it wasn't. It was fun, it was witty. It had the whole thing of monsters, where you had, Monsters Inc., where you had the ingenuity of the creatures, you had all the different ones, you had, the Invisible Man's there, the werewolf is there, the Frankenstein is there, all these different things are there, and all these different ghouls and all that kind of thing, and zombies and stuff, and it's genuinely witty and funny. And Hotel Transylvania 2 has the thing of Monsters Inc., the other one, Monsters University, where there was none of that. There's hardly any new ingenuity, there's hardly any clever ideas, there's no wittiness, there's hardly anything funny in it at all. It just is one of these sequels, it's literally a sequels by number, all, make loads of money, just do more of the same again, only none of the jokes, none of the humour. It's honestly like, it literally is dead. It doesn't have a pulse. I honestly do not know how they could go from being so clever and witty in the first one to just making such a tone dead sequel like this that just doesn't have any of the laughs. I honestly just don't know how to describe it other than that. It's completely opposite from the first film and a mess and a waste of, again, material and potential.
Yeah, what originally turned out to be one of Adam Sandler's best films in the last 15 years, the sequel turned out to be pretty much in line with the stuff that he has been churning out in the last 15 years, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So it never falls down to the lowest, again, poo joke, common denominator like most of his films has done, but it will annoy you if you did actually quite like the first Hotel Transylvania, which we did. It was fun. It was sort of like, it reminded me a lot of like an updated version of the Groovy Ghoulies, which I loved as a kid, and that's the kind of feel that I got from it. It's just this one felt like it was the Groovy Ghoulies made by MTV. And I don't think very many people will get who the Groovy Ghoulies is. Do you?
Nope.
Okay, I'm not surprised with that, but considering the strange tastes I had as a kid. But the Groovy Ghoulies, just picture Hotel Transylvania, the first one, and that's pretty much what the Groovy Ghoulies were. It's just a group of monsters, and it was sort of like aimed at kids. It was an adventure kind of film with a group of monsters. Monster Squad, very tame, in a way. Animated as well. But that's what the Groovy Ghoulies was, and that's what Hotel Transylvania reminded me of. It's just, the sequel reminded me of just the opposite of that. It wasn't entertaining, it wasn't fun, the animation was lacking in most departments, it didn't have the pop of the original, and the jokes that it tried to actually bring across and add to it were just annoying because they're not funny.
Yeah.
And before I go on to my only review in the DVD Blu-ray section, I've just read there that there is going to be a new Spawn movie.
Okay.
I was going to say Seth MacFarlane, but Todd McFarlane.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's created, he's finished the script. He is now just tinkering around with it a little bit. He's going to ship it off to studios around Hollywood, but he has turned around and said that it is going to be a horror movie.
Right, and it's going to be a graphic one and everything like that, because the fact that now Deadpool has proved that you can do that.
It is going to be a very graphic, horror, suspenseful kind of film. It's going to have a more of a dark tone. Even though I sort of like have a tiny little soft spot for Spawn. I actually quite liked it. I haven't seen it in a very long time.
So did I. I actually have the American DVD because I imported it it's got extra stuff on it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in a very long time, so it might not hold up now for me, but I actually quite liked it when I first saw it. But on to a movie completely different, The Program, directed by Stephen Frears. Now, you'll know the story of Lance Armstrong. He was a person who built up his career in the Tour de France. He actually monumentously built up his career in the Tour de France. He started off as a teenager who nobody knew who he was, and then he rose through the ranks of becoming 7-time winner of it. However, as it was actually revealed years after he became the 7-time champion, that it could have been down to something else. It could have been down to the fact that he was involved in a huge massive doping scandal in the realms of the cycling in the Tour de France area, and so it is brought to light throughout the film what kind of character he originally was. He wasn't the kind of thing that we saw him as. In fact, he was the mischievous person who would do anything to be number one on top, and the fact that if it wasn't for a journalist who's played by Chris O'Dowd in the movie, he would have gotten away with it, pretty much everything that he did. Here's a clip.
Hi, David. Hi, Lance. Thanks for coming, sir. Just... Dr. Ferrari made a statement about EPO. Do you remember that?
No.
Did you ever visit Michele Ferrari?
I did know him.
How did you know him?
In cycling, you go to races, there are lots of people, small community.
Did you ever visit him?
Did I get tested by him? Did I go there and get consulted on certain things? I mean, perhaps.
So you did. Sorry, just because the tape recorder won't really pick up on your body language, can I get a yes or no on that?
Perhaps.
He's about to be tried for criminal conspiracy.
I think the judges and the prosecutors should pursue everybody, no matter who they are, because that's their job.
Yeah, as you heard in that clip there, the way he actually speaks to people, he's got a very manipulative tone in his voice. Like, you know what kind of person Lance Armstrong turned out to be. And when it's leading up to the evident revelation of what he is, the kind of things that he did, like going in front of people who suffered from cancer, because you do find out that he did suffer from cancer, which is exactly what happened to him. But going up and speaking in front of people like that, seeing that you just need to push on and don't bring yourself down and all that kind of stuff. The manipulative, twisting way that he did do that is just deplorable. And Ben Foster handles the character really well. He has like this very stoic kind of face, the way he actually moves around, and he's got his mannerisms down. If you look at some of the interviews with Lance Armstrong, you can see Ben Foster has actually been studying him really well. And you've also got a good performance there by Chris O'Dowd. Doesn't show up very much during the film, but you've got a good performance. The problem for me is the film itself just felt like it was made for television. It's got a very TV kind of feel to it. It plays around a lot with sort of like the tone of the movie. It shifts a lot, and it adds the stupid things about bringing up the characters' names on screen, seeing what exactly they are, and that just feels like it's very televisionalized rather than being on the big screen. There are times also when the movie just lacks a little bit. It just falls back into sort of like a comfy sofa chair, or because it realizes what it's doing is everybody knows the story anyway, so no matter how it actually portrays the story, you understand it. So despite the fact that it has got some very good performance in it, I think it's a movie that probably would have suited better for the smaller screen rather than a theatrical release. And in that, there is just something about the movie that didn't stick with me. Even though I did find at times that I was engrossed in parts of the movie, I just didn't find it as good as a lot of people make it out to be.
I think I liked it more than you, but I agree largely with you on that. It's just, I thought that, it's kind of like the whole thing of Legend, in that it's a film which is held together by some really good performances, in particular Ben Foster, who is really good in it. It's very similar to that. The film itself is a bit more, I'd say, overall, without the lead actor performances, is a better film than Legend, just slightly. But it's that kind of a thing. It's a good story, but it's a great performance at the centre of it.
For me, there is too much filler that hangs together some of the most important parts of the film, rather than just trying to have a flow that would have worked. Like seeing a lot more from Chris O'Dowd's character, the investigation kind of element of it, that was interesting to me. Him discovering the exact kind of things that Lance Armstrong did, rather than just seeing him constantly doing these drugs and all that kind of stuff. I didn't need to see that thing, because we knew it's the kind of thing that he did. So I didn't need to see that. It's just like those filler moments didn't gel and film together as well as the director thinks that it does.
Okay, on to the last film of the evening, which is Crimson Peak, which is written and directed by Guillermo del Toro. It is a sort of a fairy tale story of a young girl, Edith, played by Mia Wasikowska, who is not psychic, but who has seen visions of a ghost of her. She believes to be her mother. Warns her about not going to a place named Crimson Peak, and it's all about this whole thing of then a man comes into her life, played by Tom Hiddleston, who marries her after her father is mysteriously killed, and she moves to England with him to live in his big sort of mansion, which is kind of falling apart a bit, there with him and his sister Lucille, played by Jessica Chastain. Of course, meets her a little bit coldly, to sort of reacting to her being there. Here's a clip.
There's something the matter with you, Edith.
Something startled me, that's all.
A shadow.
All that lives in this house are shadows and creaks and groans. So you better soothe that boundless imagination of yours.
I just need a proper welcome, that's all. From now on, I want this house to contain nothing but friendship and love and warmth.
Warmth would be an excellent start. Thomas, your bride is frozen.
Of course. Forgive me. Let's go upstairs. Start a fire at once. I'll run you a hot bath. The pipes will run red at first because of the clay. Soon the water will clear.
Oh, Lucille, when it's convenient, would you mind getting me a copy of the house keys, please?
You don't need one.
I'm sorry.
There are parts of the house that are unsafe.
will take you a few days to familiarize yourself. Then, should you still feel you need them, I'll have copies made.
So, of course, when she's at Crimson Peak, she does have these moments where our experiences with shadows or things that happen have become obviously more and more realistic, and we see those in sort of all their full detail and everything. And it's all this whole thing of the house kind of is in a weird way speaking to her and showing her that things may not all be quite what they seem. And it is one of these kind of supernatural thriller terror movies, but it's not really a horror film, which is what a lot of people making it out to be and hoping it to be, and with the trailers and things are making it out to be. It does certainly have a horror aspect to it, but it's not sort of the main crux of what makes it up. The main crux of what it makes it up is a sort of a weird thriller that it kind of fits into lots of those categories. I mean, like thriller being the main one, but there's kind of a love story, bit of mystery and romance thing there. It's all sort of tied up into one. I think part of the problem is with it for me is that it does stretch itself across too many of these things, and it leaves itself as being too many of these, horror, a drama, a romantic film, a sort of fantasy film, and it doesn't know sort of where to be in amongst them all. I do think as well that some of the casting isn't great. I think Mia Wasikowska is perhaps miscast in the film. I didn't find her being the most interesting character. I thought Charlie Hunnam also didn't fit in. He has a small role where he turns up in the film as well, and I just found the characters not that gripping, and the acting in it not so much the acting is bad, but just that it didn't match me, it didn't connect to me. I think it's got potential in there, but I even found as well that when I saw it, the film, for a 2-hour film, does become incredibly predictable the more it goes on. And I mean, from the very beginning there are moments in it where you know what's coming, and I don't think that's intentional. I think that's poorly through a story that hasn't been particularly well thought out at times. I think it feels rushed at times. I don't think it's bad, but all these things that kind of claw it down a bit and drag it down and stop it from being a great film that Guillermo del Toro is certainly capable of doing. So it's not up there anywhere near with the level of stuff he could do. It's not bad, but it's just very, very sort of, it feels as if he rushed it.
And I completely have the opposite feeling of you. It's normally the other way around. I'm normally the one bashing the films, and then you feeling like it's actually a good film, whereas in fact it's not down to the fact that I'm a huge Del Toro fan. I am. I would stand up for the director, but he has made a couple of missteps in the past before. However, I just felt like this was a beautiful fairy tale. It's a gothic fairy tale. Absolutely gorgeously shot. It's opulent. It's just haunting. It creaks on you. It crawls on your skin, melding the reds with the dark tones of the castle where they actually live, the dilapidatedness of the castle, areas where you feel like if they venture into that part, you know something bad would happen. There is always a creeping feeling. I think everybody plays their characters really well. Jessica Chastain is very eerie.
She is the best thing about it.
She's sort of like got a mannequin kind of feel to her. She's got an eerie undertone that you do believe that she's capable of some heinous things. And then you've got her brother on the opposite side of trying to bring a little bit of light into it, when in fact she's sort of like sucking it out of there. Meanwhile, Wasikowska, she reminds me of a Little Red Riding Hood one. Somebody who she hasn't a clue what is going to happen to her. She doesn't know. She thinks that she's going to be involved in a family where she's going to be loved and accepted with open arms, when in fact bad things are going to happen to her. And I love the way Del Toro melds together horror with the fairy tale elements, the way he can only handle it.
See, I didn't think he did a good job of melding together. I think it's a very clumsily melded together.
I disagree with that. I also love the creations of the sort of like the eerie ghosts that he did there. People think that they're CGI'd when in fact they're not. They've got CGI touches onto them, but it was people in costumes, who we actually did.
It was Doug Jones, wasn't it, who also was in Pan's Labyrinth as the hand-eye creature.
So yeah, he did use humans in the film for the ghastly ghost, and I loved it. I absolutely loved the movie. Everything from the music to the costumes to the way the story panned out to the acting, I loved it. So I'm completely in the opposite direction to you with this movie, which is an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah.
I think it's probably one of our most divisive films over the last 6 months, easily. That I am completely on the opposite end of the spectrum, nearly, to you. I know you didn't hate the film, but you're more erring towards getting close to good rather than me getting close to absolutely outstanding. So, yeah, I loved it.
Okay, that's it for this week's show. We hope you've enjoyed some of the reviews, and we'll get to which one we enjoyed the most out of all of them in a moment. First off, TV movies of the week. I've got several actually. I've got at least one for every day in the next week.
Oh God.
Yeah, I haven't picked out which one.
You might as well crack on then.
Well, I've kind of cheated because I know we do have only the sort of the free channels, but I have noticed that there is on Sky 1 tomorrow night, Tuesday the 16th at 10 o'clock. Assault on Precinct 13, the remake one with Ethan Hawke and Lawrence Fishburne, which I really do enjoy. I think it's a really good remake. It's one of the rare occasions where the remake was actually a pretty good film.
But it doesn't count.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Unless you've got a Now TV box and you can get the entertainment channels from Sky for like £6 a month.
Yeah.
So in that way, it's not that bad. But it's
other movies on during the week. Wednesday the 17th at 9 o'clock, ITV2 White House Down. Thursday the 18th, 11:30 on Film 4, Serenity. So Joss Whedon's film of his series Firefly, which is a really good film and sets up the reason why he was hired for the Avengers. Friday the 19th, 3 films on that night, 2 at 9 o'clock and 1 at 10 o'clock. 9 o'clock on E4 is Magic Mike, on Film 4 is Ted, and 10 o'clock on Channel 5 is Centurion. The one with Michael Fassbender from before he sort of became well known.
By Neil Marshall.
Yep. Saturday the 20th at 9 o'clock on Channel 4 is the premiere of RoboCop, the remake of RoboCop. Yeah. It's not a great film by any means, but it does have moments in it which are interesting, and it's a disappointment hugely compared to the original. Paul Verhoeven's is a masterpiece. But
that's why
it has moments.
It makes me question, why have you included in TV movies of the week?
Because it is a big film on this week, as is
should never have been included.
As is on Sunday the 21st, 9 o'clock on Channel 4, The World's End. So Edgar Wright's Three Colours Cornetto finale, which is a lackluster ending to Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz. But
if I remember correctly, that's the mint one. Because one's the strawberry cornetto, one's the plain cornetto, and I think that's the mint one, and people were wondering where you get the cornetto reference, and it's near to the end of the film.
Yeah.
Very, very close to the end
on
of
the
film.
Fence.
I think it's strawberry cornetto in Shaun of the Dead. If I remember, that's the cornetto that he gets from the shop. And I don't know where the cornetto is in Hot Fuzz. It's somewhere in Hot Fuzz.
It's in the shop. They get it in the shop.
Cornetto pops up in that.
Yeah.
So in the
I think that's chocolate one.
Yeah.
Yeah. My choice of them though is Serenity on Thursday 18th, 11:30 on Channel 4. On Film 4, because I do really have a place in my heart for Firefly and that, and it's a good standalone film. But if you watched Firefly, it's a great sort of finale to it all as well.
And if I had to choose one from your list, I would choose Centurion.
I thought you would.
I think Centurion's a very underrated film.
It is. I'm looking at all my Blu-rays and DVDs. I'm pretty sure I have it as well, which I haven't watched it for a while. I might actually dig it out and watch it sometime, or just watch it on Friday.
Very brutal, very graphic.
It is. It is.
15, top end 15. I've got 2 to add to that list. 2 horror films, both on Film 4. Sinister is on Film 4 on Saturday the 20th at 10 to 1 in the morning, or Sunday the 21st, depending on how you look at it. Scott Derrickson, I still think it's his best film, Scott Derrickson's movie. It's miles better than Kieran Foy's Sinister 2, even though I do like Kieran Foy. I think the sequel is awful compared to the original. The original has got some really good scares in it, and it just gives me a chance to see Bagul.
We'll see how Scott Derrickson does with a Marvel entity later this year.
Isn't it?
No, Doctor Strange.
That's it. But yeah, just give me the chance to Bagul. Bagul is very threatening and sinister. He's more like a pop-up character or one of those round-up toys in the sequel. And the other one is the Crazies. Very, very rare, like you said, with a remake of Assault on Precinct 13, where the remake can be better than the original.
And I'm pretty sure I, oddly enough, remember the original.
Yeah, the Crazies is directed by George A. Romero, the original, released in the early 80s. It's not a very good film at all, whereas the remake is fantastic. It's got Timothy Olyphant in it, and it's very violent, but it's got some fantastically memorable scenes in it. It's very creepy, and then it's one of these rare occasions where the remake is miles better than the original. I don't count The Thing from Another Planet to The Thing as sort of like a remake. It's got very similar tones, but it's not a remake of The Thing from Another Planet. In this case, The Crazies is, and that is my choice out of the two, The Crazies. I definitely, if you've never seen it, then watch it. It's not like a straightforward horror movie. It's sort of like a disease kind of movie. So it was released alongside Carriers, which is the one with Chris Pine in it.
Chris Pine, yeah, and I forgot the name is now. Yeah,
which that's an okay film, but I think The Crazies is a much better movie that handles that kind of sort of like, it's not post-apocalyptic, but it's a virus that's spread across the country. So that's my choice, The Crazies.
Okay, that's it for this week. Thank you for listening to us live. If you haven't, thank you for listening to us on download. You can always find us at mondaymovieshow.co.uk. On Twitter, Stuart is at Cryptic Tadpole, I'm at AHDVD, and we are both at Monday Movie Show. And you can find us on Facebook as well at facebook.com/Monday Movie Show. As usual, a couple of shout outs to followingthenerd.com, where you'll find the show updated there, as well as all nerd news of all kinds throughout the week, and from page 2, the number 2, screen.com, where Stuart will have his say on some other shows with Stuart from that site, including the horror show and some British show, and I think he's doing a general show as well, isn't he, now?
I don't know. Just to add to that, I've got the video game one as well.
Yep, following the gamer. Yep.
On Twitter, following T Gamer. A show went out on Friday, which we recorded for about an hour and a half, so you can find that on the Monday Movie Show feed. It'll still be on there for a little while until I can think about maybe putting it to its own feed, but it doesn't harm the Monday Movie Show. It's got its own little part of the Monday Movie Show area, and so it's fine as it is. But yeah, me, Shane and Jerry, we discuss video games for about 90 minutes every fortnight, so make sure you listen to that show.
Right, so we're about to head off, and we'll leave you with a clip of an upcoming week from next week's show. But before we do that, movie of the week.
Deadpool.
Yep, agreed, Deadpool on this week. Crazy as it is and ridiculous and gross out in some parts, I think that anyone over the age of 15 will enjoy it.
And Crimson Peak DVD wise, but Deadpool overall. If I had it, because Crimson Peak has had its moment in the sun for me as choosing the movie of the week, so I'll get the Deadpool.
Yeah. As I said, we'll be back next week with another show, during which we'll cover, amongst other things, The Finest Hours, which is a true story about a rescue happening at sea when a ship is split in half, literally. We'll leave you with a clip of that until next week's show. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That boat is too small for these seas, and this ship will be sunk by nightfall. Every fella here wants to live. The only way that happens is if we run her aground. Now we're gonna set up a watch and look out for a shoal. I need 4 men working the police on the emergency tiller. I need 4 men manning the pumps after steering, and the rest of you run a bucket line topside down below, communicate with the engine room. And somebody keep blowing that whistle.
You heard him, boys!